Blake Turner's metal locker crashes closed like a firearm discharge, his words slicing through the gym's thick atmosphere with icy precision. "Get moving, cyborg," he sneers. "That mechanical limb won't protect you in here." Nora Collins remains motionless. The 17-year-old girl, standing just over 5 feet tall, leans against the concrete block wall with her left arm encased in a gleaming metallic support device under the harsh ceiling lights. Her gaze shifts briefly toward the exit 30 feet distant, then upward to where 2 surveillance devices create a coverage gap. She's already memorized this space's entire layout. Blake advances, towering at 6'2" with the confidence of someone accustomed to getting his way. Cody Jen positions himself behind Blake, smartphone raised with its recording indicator glowing. Jace Morrison stations himself at the doorway, limbs folded, smirking. 3 against 1. The post-training group of 8 young men, drying themselves and fastening footwear, falls silent. A whispered comment suggests the newcomer is in trouble. Nora adjusts her stance imperceptibly, weight shifting rearward. Her response emerges measured and steady. "Within 6 minutes, you'll regret not walking away." Blake's laughter rings harsh and cruel. 6 minutes. What's your plan? Run calculations. He kicks her bag aside. Academic materials scatter across the floor tiles. A physics textbook, graph paper notebook, and a small device with a red blinking light tucked in the front compartment. An audio recorder continues operating. The observers press closer. Cody's phone zooms in. Blake remains oblivious to the recording device, consumed by his performance. "Your fundamental problem," Blake announces in that tone used when seeking an audience, "is acting like you have a place here. Students on financial aid don't belong in spaces reserved for legacy families, and young women with damaged arms certainly don't belong in my training facility." Nora's jaw clenches, yet she stays still. Her focus remains on Blake's hands, observing how his right digits curl into a fist while his left remains relaxed. She recognizes this pattern, the preparation for a grab masked as a shove. Her respiration maintains rhythm. 3 seconds inhaling, 3 exhaling, the technique her father taught her at 12 when thunderstorms disrupted her sleep. Blake misinterprets her quiet as terror. "What's the matter? Expecting NASA to deploy a rescue aircraft?" He grins at his own humor. Cody chuckles from behind his phone. Jace adjusts position, blocking the exit more completely. Blake moves swiftly. His left hand lunges for Nora's wrist, fingers encircling the brace's lower section. The metal feels frigid against his skin, smooth and rigid. He jerks backward, anticipating she'll lose balance. Instead, Nora rotates on her rear foot, redistributing her body weight so fluidly it resembles choreography. Blake's hold slides away from the brace's angled exterior. His expression darkens. "Stop evading," he commands more forcefully. The audience edges nearer, forming a loose semicircle. Someone whispers, "This is wrong." Nobody intervenes. Nora speaks finally, her words cutting through the murmurs like a knife. Title IX safeguards students from gender-based intimidation in federally funded educational institutions. "I'm creating a record of this incident." She indicates the recorder, still flashing in her backpack. Blake's complexion reddens. "You believe regulations will shield you?" He leans so close she can detect the protein drink on his breath. "My father funded the new scoreboard. My uncle serves on the educational board. You're insignificant." Cody uploads the footage to a chat group titled JV Legends, typing rapidly one-handed. The notification sound reverberates through the space. Within moments, devices buzz. Someone laughs. Another captures screenshots. Yet hidden within that group chat, invisible to Blake, Principal Alvarez's assistant monitors every message and marks trigger words. The term harassment has just illuminated her display. Nora adjusts her brace strap, a minor movement appearing nervous, but isn't. She's verifying range of motion, ensuring the mechanisms function properly. Her fingers contact the recorder's edge, tapping twice. The device chirps once, backup transferred to cloud storage. Blake doesn't register it over his own voice. "Want to understand my motivation?" Blake's tone shifts, softer now, almost conversational, which makes it more disturbing. "Your father couldn't rescue himself. You think that piece of equipment on your arm makes you special? It makes you vulnerable." The room becomes still. Even Cody lowers his device momentarily. Nora's expression remains unchanged, but something shifts behind her eyes. A door closing, a lock engaging. Blake has just violated a boundary he doesn't comprehend. Her father perished 2 years prior, extracting 3 individuals from a blazing vehicle on Route 92. The intoxicated driver was Richard Turner, Blake's father. Nora possesses this knowledge. Blake doesn't understand what she knows, and this information gap is about to exact a severe cost. Coach Martinez enters from the equipment storage area, clipboard gripped, whistle bouncing against his torso. He observes Blake standing too near, sees Nora backed against the wall, notices the phone's out. Separate, he states, though his tone sounds weary. Automatic. He doesn't physically intervene. Blake is his premier athlete, unbeaten this season. 3 university scouts are watching. The coach's gaze flicks to Nora's brace, and there's a question in his look. Is this genuine or is she exaggerating? This makes her stomach turn. Authority doubt. She anticipated it. If you've experienced being outnumbered and disregarded, press that like button immediately. You need to witness how she manages what follows next. Blake reaches again, this time grasping her shoulder and pushing her sideways. Nora allows herself to move with the force, gliding along the wall until she's positioned precisely in the camera's blind area. Blake follows, irritated she's still not retaliating. What, planning to cry now? Cody circles for an improved angle, but his phone screen captures only Nora's shoulder edge and Blake's back. The blind spot conceals them from the doorway. Coach Martinez frowns but still doesn't intervene. Blake, that's sufficient horseplay. Horseplay. The word hangs in the atmosphere like a blow. Nora's hand moves to her brace. Fingers trace the etched inscription along the metal edge. Small, nearly invisible unless you're looking. Collins Prototype 7. Her father's handwriting laser engraved into the aluminum. She runs her thumb across the words once, a silent vow. Then her hand drops. Blake grabs her arm again. Higher this time, near the elbow joint where the brace terminates and skin begins. His grip is forceful enough to leave marks. Going to use your words, cyborg, or just stand there? Nora meets his gaze. I warned you, she states quietly. That arm's reinforced, Blake laughs. Yeah, let's test it. He pulls forcefully, twisting her arm backward at an unnatural angle. The audience gasps. Cody's phone jerks upward, trying to capture it. Coach Martinez finally begins moving, stepping forward with his hand raised. Okay, Blake, that's actually... But before he completes the sentence, Jace kicks the locker door beside them. It swings closed with a metallic screech, and the edge of Nora's brace catches on the door handle. The strap tears with a sharp, ripping noise. Blake yanks again and the brace wedges firmly. Metal grinding against metal. Nora gasps, a small sound she cannot suppress, and her wrist twists at a painful angle. A thin line of blood emerges where the brace's edge cuts into skin. The room freezes. Cody zooms in on the blood. Someone says, "Oh, that's serious." Another voice. She's trapped. Blake's face pales momentarily. He resembles a child who just damaged something valuable. Then his expression hardens. She probably staged it. Look at her. She's fine. Nora pulls once, testing. The brace doesn't budge. The strap dangles by threads. Her wrist throbs where the metal presses into the cut, and she can feel her pulse pounding against the pressure. She tries breathing through it. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, but the pain intensifies with each inhalation. Coach Martinez steps closer finally, and his voice has an edge now. Someone help her get unstuck, but he doesn't move to do it himself. He's waiting for a student to step up, to avoid making this his problem. The liability calculation is evident on his face. Ethan Park stands near the back of the audience, small for a reserve athlete, consistently quiet. He sees the blood and takes a half step forward. His younger sister wears the same brace on her wrist, same model, same engineer's signature etched into the metal. He knows precisely what it cost to create that brace. He knows the engineer died ensuring children like his sister could use their hands again. Ethan's mouth opens. He's about to speak, about to step in, but Jace moves faster. He shifts sideways, blocking Ethan's path, and mutters under his breath, "Don't be an informant, Park. You'll lose your position." Ethan freezes. His eyes meet Nora's for 1 second, and there's an apology in them, raw and guilty. Then he looks away. Nora is alone, bleeding, trapped. The authority figure in the room is 10 feet away, observing, waiting for someone else to resolve it. Her ally just chose silence. The crowd murmurs. She's finished. Blake went too far. Someone's getting expelled, but nobody moves. Blake leans in and his voice drops to a whisper intended only for her. You should have remained invisible, Cyborg. Now everyone's going to remember you as the freak who couldn't handle a joke. Cody's phone is still recording. The group chat is exploding with activity. Somewhere in the school's administrative office, Principal Alvarez's assistant is already composing an email, but help is minutes away. Too slow. Nora closes her eyes. The audience mistakes it for surrender. Someone sighs in relief. Coach Martinez relaxes slightly. Blake straightens up, brushing his hands off like he's already finished here, but Nora isn't surrendering. She's counting. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. Her father's voice in her head, calm and steady. Engineering isn't about being the strongest, Nora. It's about using what you have more intelligently than the other guy uses what he has. She opens her eyes. They're not frightened anymore. They're calculating. Her right hand moves to the brace, fingers finding the small release button concealed near the wrist joint. It's a safety feature designed for emergencies, to prevent compression injuries. She presses it once. There's a faint click, and the metal rods inside the forearm section shift from flexible to rigid, locking into place. The brace is no longer a medical device. It's a lever. Blake doesn't notice. He's already turning away, grinning at Cody's phone. Got that? Make sure you post it. Nora shifts her weight forward, testing the angle. Her wrist is still wedged, but she's not pulling anymore. She's pushing. The locker door groans under the pressure. Blake hears it and turns back, annoyed. What are you? She doesn't let him finish. In one smooth motion, she wrenches her arm sideways, using the brace's rigid edge like a crowbar. The door handle bends slightly, just enough to free the metal. Her wrist slides out, bloody but mobile, and before Blake can react, she steps into his space. He's off balance, weight on his heels, still holding the smirk. Nora's left arm is up, angled across her body, the brace glinting under the lights. Blake reaches out to shove her back, instinct more than intent, and his hand closes around her forearm. Big mistake. Nora drops her shoulder, rotates her hips 90 degrees and hooks the brace's edge under Blake's elbow. The rigid metal doesn't bend, his arm does. She pulls down with her whole body weight while driving her hips up, and physics does the rest. Blake's feet leave the floor. The crowd sees his sneakers lift. They see his eyes widen. They hear the split-second sound of his breath catching. Then Nora completes the rotation, and Blake's body arcs over her hip. The camera cuts away. All anyone sees is the crowd's faces, shock rippling outward like a wave. The sound comes next, a heavy, dull thud as Blake's back hits the tile floor, followed by a breathless grunt and the skitter of his phone sliding across the ground. Silence. Complete ringing silence. Nora stands over him, breathing hard, the brace still locked in rigid mode, blood smeared along the metal edge. Blake is on his back, one hand clutching his elbow, his face twisted in pain that's equal parts physical and humiliated. His feet twitch once like he's trying to get up and can't quite figure out how. Coach Martinez's clipboard hits the floor. Cody's phone is still recording, but his hand is shaking so badly the image blurs. Jace takes 2 steps back from the door, hands raised like he's just realized he's in a crime scene. Ethan steps forward now, finally, and his voice cracks when he speaks. I got it. All of it. He holds up his phone, screen facing the crowd. On it, a video plays. Blake shoving Nora, Blake grabbing her arm, Blake yanking while Jace kicks the door shut. And there in the corner of the frame, clear as day, the brace's metal surface reflects the overhead light and etched text glows faintly in the lens flare. NASA Prototype 7. The crowd leans in. Someone zooms. The etching resolves. Property of James Collins, aerospace engineer, FDA-cleared medical device. 3 times force multiplier for pediatric rehabilitation. Ethan's voice is steady now, louder. My little sister has that brace. I know what it cost to make it. I know the engineer died saving people from a car crash on Route 92. He looks at Blake, still on the floor. Your dad was driving that car. The air goes out of the room. Blake's face drains of color. Coach Martinez stares at Ethan, then at Nora, then at the phone in Ethan's hand, and understanding crashes over him like cold water. Nora looks down at Blake. Her voice is quiet, but everyone hears it. You wanted to break my arm. I just used yours as a counterweight. She pauses, lets the words settle. Physics, not vengeance. Blake tries to sit up, winces, and stays down. His mouth opens and closes, but nothing comes out. From the doorway, Principal Alvarez appears, flanked by her assistant and the school resource officer. She takes one look at the scene, Blake on the floor, Nora standing with a bloodied brace, a dozen phones out, Ethan holding his screen forward like evidence, and her expression goes from confused to grimly determined in under 3 seconds. "Nobody moves," she says. "Coach Martinez, my office now." She points at Blake. "Officer Reynolds, get him to the nurse. Then I want statements from everyone in this room." Her eyes land on Nora. "Miss Collins, are you injured?" Nora nods toward her wrist. "Minor cut. I'll be fine. Nurse first, then we talk." Alvarez's tone isn't unkind, but it's not warm either. She's in damage control mode, already calculating lawsuits and liability. She gestures to Ethan. "Send me that video right now." Ethan taps his screen. "Already uploaded to the cloud, ma'am. Time-stamped. I can testify to everything I saw." Alvarez's eyebrows rise a fraction. "Good, you'll need to." She turns to the crowd. "If anyone else recorded anything, I want it sent to my office by end of day. This is now an official investigation." Blake finally finds his voice shaking. "She attacked me. You all saw it." Cody, still holding his phone, hesitates. Then slowly he shakes his head. "No, man. You grabbed her first. I got that part too." Blake stares at him, betrayed. "You're on my team." "I'm not on anybody's team right now," Cody says quietly. He pockets his phone and walks toward the door. Jace follows without a word. "Would you stay silent if you saw this happening? Drop a comment below." Her next decision affects everyone in that school. Nora watches Blake get helped to his feet by Officer Reynolds. He won't look at her. His elbow is already swelling, a dark bruise blooming under the skin. Not broken, she made sure of that, but hyperextended enough that he'll remember this every time he shoots a basketball for the next 2 months. Coach Martinez is still standing there, clipboard forgotten, looking at Nora like he's seeing her for the first time. "I didn't know," he starts. "If I'd known about your father." "You should have known it didn't matter." Nora interrupts, her voice still. "You saw a student being harassed and you called it horseplay. That's not ignorance. That's a choice." Martinez's face reddens. He opens his mouth, closes it, and then follows Principal Alvarez out of the locker room without another word. The crowd begins to disperse slowly, everyone moving like they're underwater. Whispers start up again. "Did you see that throw? She's bleeding. Blake's going to get expelled." But the energy has shifted. Nora isn't invisible anymore. She's a problem. Or maybe, for the first time, she's a person. Ethan lingers near the lockers, waiting until most people are gone. Then he walks over, hands shoved in his pockets. "I'm sorry," he says. "I should have stepped in sooner." Nora looks at him. Really looks. She sees the guilt, but also the fear. Fear of losing his spot, his scholarship, his chance. She knows that fear. She's lived with it every day since her father died. "You stepped in when it mattered," she says. "That's what counts." Ethan nods, but he doesn't look convinced. "My sister's name is Maya. She's 13. That brace let her play violin again." His voice cracks. "Your dad gave her that." Nora's throat tightens. She doesn't trust herself to speak, so she just nods. "If you need a witness for anything," Ethan continues, "I'm there. I mean it. I'll remember that." Nora adjusts the brace, wiping the blood off with the edge of her shirt. The cut on her wrist is shallow, already clotting. The strap is torn but functional. She'll need to get it repaired, but it held. Her father built things to last. Ethan glances at the door, then back at her. "Blake's dad really caused the crash?" "Yes. Does Blake know?" "Not until 30 seconds ago." Nora's expression is unreadable. "His mom sent a letter 2 years ago." "I never opened it." Ethan processes this. "Are you going to?" "Maybe." She picks up her backpack, stuffing the books and the voice recorder back inside. The recorder's light has finally stopped blinking. 6 minutes and 42 seconds of audio, uploaded and time-stamped. Enough to bury Blake legally if it comes to that. Right now, I just want to go home. "Yeah." Ethan shifts his weight. "For what it's worth, you're kind of a legend now." In like a terrifying way, Nora almost smiles. "I'll take it." She walks past him, past the lockers with their dented doors and peeling paint, past the blind spot where the cameras don't reach, and out into the hallway. The late afternoon sun slants through the high windows, turning the floor tiles gold. Her wrist throbs in time with her heartbeat, a steady, grounding pain that reminds her she's still here, still standing, behind her. The locker room is empty except for the faint smell of sweat and the echo of what just happened. In 6 minutes, everything changed. Blake learned that legacy doesn't protect you from consequences. Coach Martinez learned that silence is complicity. Ethan learned that courage sometimes means being late, as long as you show up. And Nora learned what her father already knew, that engineering isn't just about building things. It's about knowing when to hold your ground and when to use the other guy's momentum against him. She stops at the nurse's office door, hand on the handle, and takes one breath. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. Then she pushes it open and steps inside. In 6 minutes, she turned the whole school upside down. In 6 minutes, the fight ended. But the consequences, those are only just beginning. The paperwork, the hearings, the systemic rot that let Blake act with impunity for years, that will take longer to fix. But for the first time since her father died, Nora Collins feels like she might actually be strong enough to see it through, because she didn't just defend herself. She documented it. She waited for Blake to commit fully, to show his intent in front of witnesses and cameras and authority figures who could no longer look away. She turned his attack into evidence. And now the system that failed her is about to be forced to answer for it. The nurse's office smells like antiseptic and old coffee. Nora sits on the vinyl examination table while Nurse Patterson cleans the cut on her wrist with careful, practiced movements. The woman is in her 50s, gray hair pulled back tight. And she doesn't ask questions she doesn't need answers to. She sees the NASA etching on the brace, sees the torn strap, sees the way Nora holds herself like someone who's been here before. "This will sting," Patterson says, dabbing iodine along the wound. Nora doesn't flinch. The cut is clean, shallow. The brace's edge sliced skin but missed anything important. "You'll want to keep it dry for 48 hours. Change the bandage tomorrow." "Thank you," Nora says quietly. Patterson tapes gauze over the cut, then sits back studying her. "You're James Collins's daughter." Nora's head snaps up. "You knew my father." "He consulted here 4 years ago when we were setting up adaptive equipment for students with mobility issues." Patterson's expression softens. He was passionate about making sure every kid had what they needed, regardless of cost. "I'm sorry for your loss." The words land heavier than Nora expects. She swallows hard and nods. From the hallway outside, raised voices echo. Blake's voice, defensive and sharp. "I barely touched her." Then Principal Alvarez, colder than ice. "Save it for the hearing. Mr. Turner, your parents are already on their way." Patterson glances at the door, then back at Nora. "For what it's worth, you did what you had to do. I've patched up 6 kids this semester who were too scared to fight back against that boy." She hesitates. "I reported it every time. No one listened." Nora feels something tighten in her chest. "Why not?" "Because Blake's uncle sits on the school board. Because his father donated the new gymnasium. Because people don't want to believe that a kid with everything could be cruel." Patterson's jaw sets. "But you made them see it. That video's already circulating. By tomorrow, this whole district will know what happened here." Nora thinks about her father, about the 3 people he pulled from the burning car before going back for the driver. Richard Turner was trapped behind the wheel, unconscious, reeking of alcohol. Her father could have left him. No one would have blamed him. Instead, he went back. The car exploded 12 seconds later. Blake doesn't know that his father killed the man who saved his life. "Is he going to be okay?" Nora asks. "Blake's elbow?" Patterson raises an eyebrow. "You hyperextended the joint. He'll be in a sling for 6 weeks. Physical therapy for 3 months. No permanent damage." She pauses. "You measured that throw, didn't you? Made sure it was enough to stop him, but not enough to destroy him." Nora doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. Patterson stands, hands Nora a hall pass. "Principal Alvarez wants to see you in 20 minutes. Until then, you're cleared to rest here if you need it." "I'm fine. You say that a lot." Patterson opens the door. Doesn't always make it true. Nora leaves the nurse's office and nearly collides with Ethan in the hallway. He's leaning against the wall, scrolling through his phone, and when he sees her, he straightens fast. "Hey, you good?" "Bandaged." She holds up her wrist. "What are you still doing here?" "Waiting for you." Ethan glances down the hall toward the administrative offices. Blake's parents just showed up. His mom looks like she's about to cry. His uncle's already threatening to sue. Nora's stomach knots. "Sue who?" "You, the school, Coach Martinez, pretty much everyone except Blake." Ethan's expression darkens. "Typical." They walk together toward the main office, passing clusters of students who stare and whisper. Someone holds up a phone, filming. Nora keeps her face neutral, but inside she's calculating. The video is out. The evidence is documented. But if Blake's family has money and influence, this could drag on for months. Years even. I need to tell you something, Ethan says quietly. About my sister. About why I recorded everything. Nora stops walking. Go ahead. Maya broke her wrist 2 years ago during gymnastics. Shattered the growth plate. Doctor said she'd lose 70% mobility, maybe forever. Ethan's voice is tight. Your dad heard about it through some grant program. He showed up at our house with that brace, custom fitted. Wouldn't take $1 for it. Said he was testing prototypes and needed data. But we knew he just wanted to help. Nora's throat closes. Her father did that a lot. Found kids who needed help and pretended it was research so their families wouldn't feel like charity cases. Maya plays violin now, Ethan continues. First chair in the youth orchestra. Because of that brace. Because of your dad. He meets Nora's eyes. When I saw Blake trying to break it, trying to break you, I couldn't stay silent. I owed your family more than that. You don't owe me anything, Nora says. Yeah, I do. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows what really happened in that locker room. They reach the administrative office just as the door swings open. Blake's mother steps out first, petite, blonde, eyes red from crying. Behind her, a tall man in an expensive suit, presumably Blake's uncle, barks into his phone about lawyers and liability. Blake follows last, arm in a sling, face pale and closed off. When Blake sees Nora, he stops. For 3 seconds, they just stare at each other. Then his mother notices. She freezes, hand flying to her mouth. You're Nora Collins, she whispers. Nora nods slowly. Blake's mother takes a shaky step forward. I sent you a letter 2 years ago, after the accident. Did you ever? I didn't open it, Nora says. The woman's face crumples. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Your father saved my son's life. And Richard, my husband, he took your father from you. There's nothing I can say that makes that right. Blake stares at his mother like he's seeing her for the first time. What are you talking about? The car crash, his mother says, voice breaking. Your father was driving drunk. Nora's father pulled you out of the back seat before the car exploded. Then he went back for your dad. She turns to Nora, tears streaming. I've lived with that guilt every single day. And now my son, her voice cracks. Now my son hurt you? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Blake's uncle steps between them, jaw tight. Andrea, we're not discussing this here. Blake is the victim in this situation. That girl assaulted him. She defended herself. Ethan interrupts, holding up his phone. I have the whole thing on video. Blake grabbed her first. Blake shoved her into the locker. Blake tried to break her arm. She only fought back when she had no other choice. The uncle's eyes narrow. Who are you? Ethan Park, witness, and I'm testifying. Principal Alvarez appears in the doorway, expression unreadable. Miss Collins, Mr. Park, please come in. Mr. and Mrs. Turner will reconvene after I've taken statements. She looks at Blake's uncle. Mr. Grayson, your presence is not required at this time. I'm Blake's legal representative. This is a school disciplinary matter, not a criminal proceeding. If it becomes one, you'll be notified. Alvarez's tone leaves no room for argument. Please wait in the outer office. Inside, the principal's office is small and cluttered with binders and motivational posters that feel deeply ironic given the circumstances. Alvarez sits behind her desk, fingers steepled, and gestures for Nora and Ethan to take the chairs across from her. Let me be clear, Alvarez begins. What happened today is unacceptable on every level. Blake Turner violated our anti-harassment policy, our anti-bullying policy, and potentially several state laws. Coach Martinez failed to intervene when he should have. And this school failed to create an environment where you felt safe, Miss Collins. Nora sits forward. What happens now? Blake is suspended immediately pending a full investigation. We're reviewing all footage, school cameras, student recordings, everything. If the evidence supports what I've seen so far, he'll be recommended for expulsion and possible criminal charges. And Coach Martinez? Ethan asks. Alvarez's expression tightens. He's on administrative leave while we investigate whether his inaction constitutes negligence. If it does, his contract will not be renewed. This is where silence stops being neutral. Hit that subscribe button if you believe accountability matters, because what comes next sets the standard for an entire school. Nora pulls the voice recorder from her backpack and sets it on the desk. I recorded the entire encounter. 6 minutes, 42 seconds. Blake made multiple threats. He referenced my father's death. He tried to physically harm me after I invoked Title IX protections. She pauses. I didn't fight back immediately because I knew if I did, the system would blame me. So I waited. I let him commit fully, in front of witnesses, on camera, with clear intent to harm. I wanted there to be no doubt about who the aggressor was. Alvarez stares at the recorder, then at Nora. That was incredibly strategic. My father taught me that engineering isn't just about building things. It's about understanding systems, how they work, how they fail, and how to make them better. Nora's voice is steady. The school system failed. It let Blake act with impunity because of his family's donations and his athletic performance. So I documented everything. I made sure that when I finally defended myself, no one could twist the narrative. Alvarez leans back in her chair. You're 17 years old. Yes, ma'am. And you orchestrated a self-defense scenario that doubles as ironclad legal evidence. I survived, Nora corrects quietly. I just made sure surviving meant something. For a long moment, Alvarez says nothing. Then she picks up the recorder and labels it with an evidence tag. I'm going to recommend several changes to district policy, mandatory bystander intervention training for all students, independent review of harassment complaints, real-time monitoring of locker rooms during after-hours activities, and a partnership with a local engineering firm to start a STEM self-defense program. Ethan blinks. STEM self-defense? Teaching students the physics of leverage, the legality of self-defense, and how to document harassment properly, Alvarez explains. If Miss Collins can engineer her own justice, we should be teaching others how to do the same, safely and legally. Nora feels something unclench in her chest. I'd like to help design that program. I was hoping you'd say that. Alvarez turns to Ethan. And I'd like you to teach the bystander intervention module. You hesitated, but you ultimately did the right thing. That journey from silence to action is what other students need to see. Ethan nods, throat tight. Yeah, okay, I can do that. Alvarez stands, signaling the meeting's end. You'll both need to give formal statements to the district investigator. That'll happen within 48 hours. Until then, if Blake or anyone associated with him contacts you, document it and report it immediately. She looks at Nora. You did everything right. I need you to know that. And I'm sorry it took something this extreme for us to listen. Nora stands, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. Just make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. That's the plan. Outside the office, Blake's mother is sitting alone on a bench, face in her hands. Blake and his uncle are gone. When she hears footsteps, she looks up, eyes locking on Nora. Can I talk to you? She asks. Just for a minute? Nora hesitates, then nods. Ethan gives her a questioning look. She waves him off. I'll catch up. Andrea Turner stands, wringing her hands. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that I think about your father every single day. He didn't have to go back for Richard, but he did, and it cost him everything. Why are you telling me this? Nora asks, because Blake didn't know. I never told him. I was ashamed. Andrea's voice breaks. I thought if I kept it buried, it would hurt less. But all I did was raise a son who thinks he's entitled to everything because I never taught him what sacrifice looks like. She pulls an envelope from her purse. Old, creased with Nora's name written in careful cursive. This is the letter I sent 2 years ago. You don't have to read it, but I want you to have it. Nora takes the envelope. It's heavier than she expected. There's a photo inside, Andrea continues. Your father and Richard, back when they worked together at the aerospace lab. Before Richard's drinking got bad, before everything fell apart. Her eyes glisten. They were friends once. I thought you should know that your father didn't save a stranger. He saved someone he once cared about, even after that person destroyed himself. Nora's hands shake slightly. She tucks the envelope into her backpack without opening it. Thank you. I'm pulling Blake out of this school, Andrea says. He'll finish his senior year at a smaller academy with mandatory counseling and restorative justice classes. And he's writing you an apology letter, a real one, not something his uncle drafts. I don't know if it'll mean anything to you, but he's going to try. Okay, Nora says simply. Andrea wipes her eyes. Your father was a good man. You're just like him. Nora doesn't respond to that. She just nods once and walks away. 3 weeks later, The gym locker room is repainted and equipped with new cameras covering every angle. A laminated poster hangs by the door. Title IX Protections, Know Your Rights. Underneath, a QR code links to the school's updated harassment reporting system. Nora stands in front of 20 students, mostly girls, a handful of boys, in the first meeting of the STEM Self-Defense Club. Ethan is beside her, holding a stack of legal handouts. Principal Alvarez watches from the back, arms crossed, but smiling faintly. Engineering, Nora begins, is about understanding how forces work. Leverage, momentum, balance. She holds up her brace, now fully repaired. This isn't a weapon, it's a tool. But when someone tried to use force against me, I used physics to redirect that force back at him. A girl in the front row raises her hand. Did it hurt when you threw him? My wrist was cut. My arm was stuck. I was scared. Nora's voice is honest. But I'd practiced those movements 1,000 times with my father when I was younger. Muscle memory took over. That's the point of training. So when you're scared, your body knows what to do. Another student, a skinny freshman boy, speaks up. What if we're not strong enough? You don't need to be strong, Nora says. You need to be smart. Use their weight against them. Aim for joints, not muscles. And most importantly, only fight when you have no other choice. Your first defense is always documentation and de-escalation. Ethan steps forward. That's where bystander intervention comes in. If you see someone being harassed, you have 3 options. Direct intervention if it's safe, distraction to disrupt the situation, or delegation by getting an authority figure. I didn't do any of those things right away, and I regret it. But I eventually stepped up, and it made a difference. A girl in the back asks, "What happened to Blake?"
He's at a different school, Nora says.
He's completing a restorative justice program. Whether he learns from it or not isn't my responsibility. My responsibility is making sure no one else goes through what I did. The session runs for 90 minutes. They practice calculating force vectors. They role-play harassment scenarios. They learn the legal definitions of assault, battery, and self-defense. By the end, the students are engaged, asking questions, taking notes. When the last student leaves, Principal Alvarez approaches. This is exactly what we needed. The district superintendent wants to roll this program out to all 10 high schools in the county. Nora blinks. Seriously? Seriously. You'll be paid as a consultant. Ethan, too. Alvarez hands her a folder. These are the contracts. Think about it. That night, Nora sits at her desk at home, the envelope from Andrea Turner in front of her. She's been carrying it for 3 weeks, unopened. Finally, she slides her finger under the seal and pulls out 2 items, a handwritten letter and a photograph. The photo shows 2 men in their 30s, both wearing NASA lab coats, arms slung around each other's shoulders. They're grinning at the camera, holding up a prototype of something mechanical. On the back, faded ink reads, James and Richard, Prototype 4 Test Day. We're going to change the world. Nora's vision blurs. Her father never talked about Richard Turner, never mentioned that they'd worked together. She always assumed the driver was a random stranger, a statistic in a tragedy, but he wasn't. He was someone her father once believed in. The letter is 3 pages, handwritten, raw. Andrea writes about Richard's brilliance, his decline, his guilt over losing custody of Blake when his drinking spiraled. She writes about the night of the crash, how Richard was driving Blake home from a basketball game, how he'd promised it was just 1 drink. She writes about the explosion, the funerals, the unbearable weight of knowing your husband killed the man who saved your son. The last paragraph stops Nora cold. Your father told Richard the day he resigned from NASA that engineering is about building people up, not just machines. I don't think Richard ever forgave himself for failing that standard, and I don't think I ever will either. But watching you stand up for yourself, watching you use your father's work to protect yourself, it gave me hope that maybe something good can still come from all this pain. I hope you find peace. I hope Blake does too. And I hope you know that your father's legacy isn't just in the braces he built. It's in the strength you carry. Nora sets the letter down and picks up the photo again. She studies her father's face. Younger. Unburdened. Then she opens her laptop and starts drafting an email. To Ethan Park. Subject, new project idea. What if we expanded the STEM program to include conflict resolution for families affected by trauma? Not just self-defense, but teaching people how to rebuild after everything falls apart. I think my dad would have wanted that. She hits send. 2 months later, the school holds an assembly. Blake's locker has been reassigned. Coach Martinez is gone, replaced by a woman who played college soccer and runs daily check-ins with every athlete. The hallways have new posters. Speak up. Stand up, show up. Nora walks past her own locker, now decorated with a small plaque. STEM club captain. Students nod at her in the halls, some respectful, some wary, all aware. She's not invisible anymore. She's the girl who turned physics into justice. At lunch, Ethan drops into the seat across from her. Superintendent approved the trauma resolution program. We start pilot testing next semester. That's incredible, Nora says. Maya wants to help, Ethan adds. She's been talking about it nonstop. Says she wants to be like you when she grows up. Nora smiles, a real one. Tell her she's already braver than I was at 13. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. This is Blake. My mom said you might read my letter someday. I don't expect you to respond. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything. You were right about the physics thing. I'm trying to learn. Nora stares at the message for a long time. Then she types, apology accepted. Work on being better. She doesn't say good luck. She doesn't offer friendship. But she leaves the door open, just a crack, because that's what her father would have done. That afternoon, she walks into the STEM lab and finds a package on her workbench. Inside, a refurbished prototype 7 brace, identical to hers, with a note from the engineering firm that partnered with the school. For the next student who needs it. Thanks for showing us what these are really for. Nora runs her fingers over the metal, over the etched text that reads Collins Prototype 7, and feels the weight of her father's legacy settle into something she can carry. Not a burden, but a purpose. She straps the brace onto a display stand, sets it in the front of the lab where everyone can see it, and underneath she places a small sign. Engineering is about building people up. Ask me how. Because Blake learned that violence has consequences. Coach Martinez learned that silence is complicity. Ethan learned that courage can come late, as long as it comes. And Nora learned what her father always knew. That the strongest structures aren't built from steel, but from the refusal to let cruelty go unanswered. She didn't just survive. She documented. She strategized. She waited for the perfect moment. And then she used physics to flip the script. And now the system that failed her is being rebuilt, brick by brick, policy by policy, into something better. The locker room incident is closed. Blake is gone. Justice is served. But the work continues because that's what engineers do. They don't just fix what's broken. They build systems that don't break in the first place. And Nora Collins, 17 years old, daughter of a man who died saving others, stands in that lab and knows exactly what she's going to build next. And that wraps up today's video. Thanks so much for spending a little time with me on Fearless Grace. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell because the next video is already on its way.